Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of my Wine and Design podcast. I have some wine today because we are celebrating a new year. I'm super excited to start this year off strong, and honestly, I had wine at home, which is kind of rare nowadays. I don't really buy bottles of wine anymore because it takes forever for us to get through one bottle. So this is a rare occasion. So cheers. Happy New Year. I hope you guys are doing wonderful. This podcast is going to be a massive Q&A. I asked you guys on Instagram any questions that you have, but I'm also going to be taking some time to answer any other questions or thoughts or comments or anything that you leave on this specific podcast. So if you're listening to audio, be sure to go to my YouTube channel and comment on that YouTube video and I will get back to you. But any questions you have, I want to make sure that I answer them or at least address any comments, thoughts, anything like that. I want to get connected with you all, and sometimes that's the best way to do it. And I got a lot of really good questions, so I'm super excited to jump into it. But yeah, welcome to my third episode of, this is technically like my season 2, but to be honest, guys, when I first started this podcast, I had no set schedule. I had no set plan with it. So I really feel like this is like a brand new podcast. So I don't really like to say seasons or whatnot, but this is my third episode. I do post a new podcast every other Friday. So be sure to look out for those, and there'll be audio and video of each episode. So I'm super excited. I've been really enjoying it. As you can see, I have a professional new microphone. I hope it sounds good. Let me know if you like it. I've been really playing around with like the background too. And honestly, my favorite kind of decoration is plants. So this is probably the one I just got today is probably my like 30th plant in my house. So I think we're good on plants for a while, but it truly is an addiction. Like I love to go house plant shopping. I think it's so much fun, and this one just looked so healthy and so pretty. I couldn't pass it up, and it was at Home Depot, so it was a pretty good deal. And I got this cute little rattan shelf to put all my plants on, but I'm having so many issues with the sign in the background being like blown out in the videos. It says on air, but I need to play around with my video settings to make sure that it actually is legible on video. So anyway, I hope you guys are liking the new little setup, but without further ado, let's jump into all of the questions. Okay, first question is how to find clients. If you don't have a real client work, is it okay to showcase study design? So I'll kind of reword that into what I think you're asking, but basically how to get clients, and if you don't have them, can you use like fake projects or fake client work to potentially land new clients? So I just filmed a video a couple days ago on how my recommendations for how to land clients in 2024, that'll be going up next week. But to give you a little gist of what I would recommend is, number one, think about your services and your offers and potentially adjust that a little bit. I feel like we can get so set in our offers and our services, but our world is so fast paced and our society is changing all the time. So I would look at your services, look at your pricing, look at who you're targeting, and really make sure that that is speaking to them. Maybe by offering tiers, if you are trying to go after like small businesses or big businesses, sometimes it helps to have tiers to like speak to those different audiences. And then in terms of using like fake projects or like fake client work, I don't even like to use the word fake because it's truly your work at the end of the day. I highly recommend this. I think that if you are brand new and you don't have a lot of portfolio pieces, I recommend going on to, there's a bunch of like free brief websites where you can like type in, or AI generates like a fake company and business for you to design a logo or a website off of. I would recommend going on those websites and just start building portfolio pieces. That is like one of the most important things you can do when starting off, is having work to show, because that's basically like going onto Amazon and not having any product pictures for the product you're purchasing. So definitely make sure to have some portfolio pieces. I've made quite a few TikTok videos and Instagram videos on those brief websites that can give you those generated client projects, but there's no harm in doing that, and I would definitely recommend doing that to kind of build up your portfolio. Also, another way to get clients, and I'll share from my own experience, is social media. I cannot stress this enough, but I would say about 90% of my clients come from TikTok and Instagram. And I say this a lot, and I think that it can be easily like overthought because, well, let me back up a little. I think every designer is very different. I just spoke to a designer today, and she gets a lot of her clients from referrals and networking and in-person events, which also is amazing. But if you don't have like events to go to or anything, then the best thing that you can do is to post consistently online. Show your process, show your day in the life, show your personality. And I know it can be really scary if you don't like to like talk to the camera, but just step out of your comfort zone, and I promise you like clients will come. And that was like the best thing I could have done for my business. So highly recommend getting on social media and being consistent with it, because it took me a long time to start seeing like actual traction from it. You have to be patient with it, and you have to just stick with it. What are some design challenges I can do to learn more and improve my skills? That's a very good question. And I just said in my 2020, I think it was my last podcast episode, my goals for this year is to learn more and like continuously improve my skills and make sure I'm doing that. So what I would do is set your mind to something that you want to learn. Like for me, I really want to learn the platform Webflow for website design. I also want to get way better at Shopify. And I know that the programs I want to learn and challenge myself with. So I would first set that, figure out which program or which skill set it is that you want to perfect. And then what I would do is go find an educator or a designer that you are inspired by and see if they have any courses on it. But truthfully, the simplest answer I can give is to just get on those programs and get on those platforms and start. I don't know about you guys, but I learn by doing. I don't really learn very well by reading or listening or anything like that. I have to like follow along. So I would get on those programs and platforms and first play around with it yourself. And then when you get stuck, that's when I would go and look at those courses online. There's so many courses online on like Udemy, for example. I have a bunch of courses. There's lots of designers with courses. So I would see whose learning style you like the best and maybe invest in some of those courses. But truthfully, just start and maybe use those brief websites to give you a prompt and just go for it. And like I said, I learn by doing. So that's what I would do. Okay, next question is, what does client offboarding look like for you? Do you ever offer retainer rates? So client offboarding, this is a thing that I've kind of had to grow with. I didn't really know when I first started like what even offboarding was. So if you're not really sure, don't beat yourself up, because over the last few years is when I really started to implement this. But my offboarding process and offboarding processes in general are really important because, number one, it lets your client know that the project is completed, and it kind of just like finalizes everything. I've had it in the past where a client doesn't really know that the contract has ended, and they try to reach out like a few months later and ask questions. But offboarding your client just solidifies the end of the project. So a process for me looks like, as soon as we're done, for example, I send them the brand guideline. I send them that email of like, congratulations, your website or your branding is complete. And then I send an email with a link to go leave a testimonial for me. That testimonial and that email pretty much ends the contract and the project. It thanks them for choosing me to design for them. And it just overall gives them like a thank you note and like, can you leave your feedback? And that email alone just lets them know that the project is now complete. But I also like to like celebrate and thank my clients for choosing me and also investing in this. So I do include some social media launch graphics in that email. And I feel like a lot of times they do use it. So it has been really useful. And it's also fun for me to create because I've already created the branding and the website. So I know what all that looks like. So I like to send those over. I would say I send about 4 of them. And then at the end of the year, for the clients that have filled out my testimonial form, I do like to send them a client thank you gift. So this is new to me just last year. And I learned the hard way, guys. Like, to be very honest, I'd probably do it a little bit differently moving forward. But I went all out with my client thank you gifts. I gave them a nice, cute, like, personalized mug. I put some notepads in there, some pens, some chocolate. Like, I went a little crazy with it, not realizing that the shipping costs are kind of crazy. So I spent a lot more on those client gifts than I ideally wanted to, but honestly, I'm not mad about it. Like, I'm excited that I got to send those out, and it was so fun to put together. But I do like to send them like a little thank you gift at the end of the year, during the holidays, to just like thank them for working with me and to remind them that I'm still here if they need like future work. So that's kind of a nice way to like offboard, but also like nurture that connection that you've made. Okay, and then the other question that's part of that is, do I offer retainer rates? So there's a few different payment methods that I do allow, and for my branding and website clients, most of my clients use an installment or a payment plan. So with the payment plan, I do require a deposit to even lock in the project itself and to like secure their spot on my calendar. And that deposit is about 25% of the full project cost. So I do require that right away to lock in the calendar date. And typically, I would say I try to book out my clients like a month or two before. So they usually pay that deposit like 2 months before we even start. And then their other installments are due throughout the project like timeline. However, with Website in a Week, I do require them to submit that deposit and then also submit the final payment amount like a day before we even launch the website, because I'm not going to launch the website or make it live if they haven't paid me. So that's how I do that. And then also, I do have some clients that have like website maintenance with me, meaning they pay me a monthly like retainer fee, the same amount every month for me to just optimize and manage their websites and like update it and everything. So I do offer that as well. And that's something I'm really trying to do more of this year, is like more retainer, like having recurring clients, because working with new clients is amazing and I love it. And I love the change, but I also love the clients I've worked with and I want to like continue working with them. So that's something that I am planning on doing more of. Next question is, how did you get better at designing? New to this and would love to go full time someday, but overwhelmed. So like I mentioned a little bit earlier, I learn by doing, and I feel very, very lucky that I was able to go to college, and I used a lot of my time in college to experiment and learn. And I remember like junior year of college, I studied abroad in Italy, and that is when I really wanted to start a website blog. And that was my first like introduction into like website design and like all the programs out there. So I just truly learned by doing, and I feel so bad giving that advice, because I want to be able to give more like, follow these steps and you'll become an amazing designer. But it took me years and years, and I'm still learning every day on how to be like better at designing and all the tricks and the tools and the things that you can do to make it like awesome. But what I would suggest, if I had to like speak to like a complete beginner, is to figure out like your style, like your personal style. What is your personal touch to branding or your personal touch on websites, and hone in on that. Because over the last like 3 years is when I really got in touch with my like specific type of design, which I would say is more of like that minimalist but like vintage aesthetic. So I would figure that out first and then study it. Like, go on Pinterest, go look at a bunch of websites and logos and stuff that use that type of branding, and study the heck out of it. Because once you like see it more often and like you're following artists or illustrators that do that, it'll just become like a subconscious thing for you. So that's what I would suggest. And also taking courses on like the programs and how to do things, how to use the iPad to draw like branding and stuff. But honestly, just don't overthink it. Just start and practice, and you'll get better and better and better, and just study the designers and the illustrators and the artists that you really love, and it'll start to come to you more and more easy. Whew, I'm getting hot, you guys. It's like hot in here right now. But it's supposed to snow tonight, so I'm super excited. Okay, next question is what's your best workflow for your day? Like, when do I do my routines in the gym and all the things? So I love this question. I love asking people this question because I love to know people's daily routine. But for me, I've really had to come to terms that I'm not really a morning person. Like, I thrive at nighttime, which kind of sucks sometimes. Like, I want to be a morning person so bad. I want to be able to wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. before the whole world's awake and just like get my stuff done. But I try and I'm always exhausted. Like, if I wake up at 6 a.m., I'm pretty much tired that day, even if I go to bed at like 9 p.m. So I don't know. I've had to come to terms that I need to sleep in a little bit, and that's totally okay. I think that giving myself the rest has allowed me to like show up better in the work day and also in my workouts and stuff like that. So my perfect day is I wake up around like 7:15, 7:30, and I usually cuddle with Leo because Leo, my cat, he's like so cuddly in the morning. So I usually spend that time with him. And then I get up out of bed and typically I go to the gym right away. I like love to work out first thing in the morning because number one, it like wakes me up. And I've also gone to the doctor and they said that like increasing your cortisol in the morning will allow you to kind of become more of a morning person. I don't know all the medical things about that, but I've been really trying to like wake up my body first thing in the morning so that I can get to work a little bit earlier in the day. So I usually go to the gym or I'll go to my Pilates class. I typically go to Pilates 2 times a week, like 2 to 3 times a week, but I've been implementing hot yoga also, and that has been so amazing for like mental health. But usually I go to Pilates or the gym around like 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. But today, to be very honest, I went to the gym at like 9 a.m. and I didn't get to work until like 11. So it all depends on the day. I try not to beat myself up about it, but usually I'll go get some movement in and come back, eat my breakfast, drink my coffee, and that is when I jump into work. So I've found that Thursdays I am the most creative when it comes to content. Like, I don't know what it is about Thursdays, but I just want to film like all day. So I've been really like harnessing that and like putting all my content filming days on Thursdays, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is typically like client calls, client work, personal editing work, stuff like that. And I usually work throughout the day. I would say from like 11 to 4, but I like to get some daylight in. Like, I feel like I heard this before, like I'm solar powered. Like, I like to go outside and see the sunshine. So I sometimes will work at night, and I don't beat myself up about that either. Like, sometimes when we're after dinner, we're sitting on the couch, I get my laptop out, and that's sometimes when I perform the best with work. So my days are kind of like not that regimented, to be honest. I love routine, and I feel like I have a really basic routine, but sometimes the hours are just adjusted slightly. So that's typically my day. And yeah, I'm excited because we're not really traveling anywhere for the next few months, and I'm excited to be home in my routine doing my thing. So I'm super excited about that. Question is, how do I discuss pricing with my clients? Okay, this is a really good question, and I really want to make more content this year about like money mindset and pricing and stuff like that, because you shouldn't be afraid to talk about it. And I know it's scary. Like, I know it's kind of that taboo topic of like, I don't want to bring up the full cost to my clients because it's kind of a lot, but I would just try your hardest to switch your mindset with that and think about it more as the value of what you're providing. You're going to be providing them something that they'll possibly be using for the next like 10 years. So think about that. If let's say your branding package is like $2,500 or $3,000, spread that out over 10 years, even 5 years, spread that out over 5 to 10 years. That's like nothing, especially when it's like a timeless product or something that they're going to be using for a very long time. Once I started thinking about it that way, and also thinking about it as if they're going to be getting an amazing experience with me, and they're going to also be getting an amazing, valuable product that's going to bring them money. And I think we're in a really unique industry where branding and website is so necessary for making an income if you're a small business owner or any business owner. So start thinking about it that way, and it'll kind of help you not be as scared to talk about it. And honestly, I don't really have to talk about money anymore with my clients because I have it clearly listed on my inquiry form what my prices start at. And then if they ask me on the call, I let them know that it typically starts at this. But if on the call, if they tell me that it's like an e-commerce website, or they tell me that they want like social media graphics with everything, then I'll tell them like it starts at this, but it might be a little bit more because it's an e-commerce website and it requires this and that and that. And you have to educate them on why it costs what it does. So study your packages before the calls, but also there's no harm in just displaying your pricing on your website. That way you don't have to always talk about it. And yeah, that's been working for me totally fine. They don't really question it very much. Like if they see it and they know what they're getting into, they're not going to be like shocked. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Okay, next question is, how can I manage my time as a business owner? Oh man, I am like not the greatest at time management. Like I gotta be honest with you guys, that is my weakness. I've been trying to get better, but I definitely think I have ADHD, like bad. I was so frustrated a couple days ago. Like I broke down crying because I had a whole task list to do, but I got distracted by putting this together. Like I get distracted really, really easily, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not. And to help me with my time management, like I just said that I do like Thursdays just content, like having time blocking or setting specific days for specific things has really helped me. But I'm really not the greatest at it. I just get it done when I can get it done. And I work at night, I work on the weekends, I work whenever it is that I can, that I'm feeling the most inspired, and I don't beat myself up about like having the specific hours of the day that I'm working. I just get it done when I can do it, and I make sure that I get my stuff done. I feel like that's really bad advice, but time management's so tricky. I would say time blocking, setting specific days, having my Google Calendar like notify me when things are coming up, and then also I utilize Fridays where I don't allow any calls. Fridays are kind of like my catch-up day if I didn't get to something during the week. So that's my best advice for that. But I get it. Time management's tough. And I've noticed a lot of creatives, I feel like I don't know, this might be a broad statement, but I feel like as creatives, sometimes time management's really difficult because our brains just think about things so differently. So I get it. I totally understand. Okay, next question is Upwork good for beginner freelancers? I'm sending proposals, but no reply. I haven't been on Upwork in a very long time, but when I first started freelancing, which was like back in 2017 or 2018, I was utilizing Upwork like crazy. And I remember even then it was hard to get replies, but I would send out, I don't know if there's a limit now on how many like proposals you can send out, but I remember I would send out like 10 or something a day, 10 to 20. Like I would go crazy with it because I wanted to work with clients, and it was hard. But what I would recommend back in the day when I was doing that a lot is to try and get reviews. And this might be cheating the system a little bit, but I actually had my boyfriend hire me and then leave me a review, but that bumped me up a little bit on the searches in Upwork. So if you know someone, sorry, I'm hitting the microphone, but if you know somebody that can like hire you on Upwork, specifically on there, just so you can get some reviews and stuff, I would do that. But I don't know how successful it is anymore for designers. I would suggest if it was me, I would probably put a lot more of my effort in social media and like building out my own profile and my own website and stuff like that. But it can be a really nice tool, and I really loved it when I was using it. The unfortunate thing I would say about Upwork and Fiverr is it kind of got a bad rap over the last few years. I've noticed my clients call me after a bad experience using somebody on Fiverr and Upwork, which kind of sucks because I feel like that leaves a bad taste in their mouth about using those platforms. So that's why I would suggest putting more of your efforts in other areas. Okay, I had to take a little break because my memory card filled up already. So I'm gonna probably speed up the questions a little bit because I've been talking a lot. But yeah, that's my suggestions for Upwork. Yeah, I wish I had more experience more lately, but I would recommend really building up the other profiles and things that I've seen a lot more success from. Okay, next question is, what needs to be in a client onboarding process? So super good question. I know we talked about the offboarding process, but onboarding is even more important because the clients just made the decision to invest in something that they've had to come to that decision, and it's super exciting, and you want them to like celebrate that and be excited that they're in good hands working with you. So what I would suggest is, and this is typically what I do, is I send them a welcome email and like thanking them for choosing me and like just letting them know I'm super excited. And then I usually include a client portal link, which includes information on the timeline, like a full task board of everything. It also includes information of communication between us two. It includes copies of like the contract and the proposal. So I like to just send that over to them, make it kind of personalized. But also you can send like a welcome guide if you want to, if you don't have like a portal platform yet. You can also do like a guide and design it and make it really fun. I've thought about doing that because it's kind of fun to like design it and make it like just really unique for the client, and that just explains like the process of your branding and like what a good decision it was that they chose you. So that's what I would do. And then also, before you even get them as a client though, definitely require the deposit, because you want to make sure that you lock them in and you don't save that date and risk the fact that they might not even like move forward. Once they pay that deposit, they're secured into that date, and it makes it a lot easier. Okay, next question is how to know when to take the plunge from a corporate job to an agency owner. I love this question because I've made so many videos on like my story and how hard it was to make that decision for myself. I know it can be really hard, but looking back, I think I knew I probably could have done it sooner. And I think I knew it was time when I didn't really like my life. That sounds really dark and deep, but I didn't really like what I was doing every day. I didn't feel excited about it. I wasn't inspired. I just felt like I was going through the motions, and that's when I realized like I need to find something that I really enjoy. And that's when I realized that my passion with designing and creativity can actually be like a job. So I would say if you're in that headspace where you're just like miserable and you're not liking your job, it might be time to start looking or start planning. But also I knew it was time when the company that I was working for just wasn't aligning with me anymore. I didn't really like the way they were doing things. I didn't really like the way I was being treated. And I think all of that just compiled into me knowing it was time to leave and go on my own. And I decided to go on my own because I worked at many places. I worked at corporate companies. I worked for people. And I just always felt that pull to just take matters into my own hands and go for it. And if you feel like you have contacts and clients and potential referrals, and you know the actions and steps you're going to take to make it work, then I think it's time. That's what I would suggest. Yeah, that would be my advice. Okay, next question is how to get people to take you seriously when you are just starting out. Oh yeah, that's a good one too. You guys had good questions, but that's hard because I feel like my family and my I would say my family have always supported me. Like, no matter what it is that I want to do, they're always like supportive of it and they accept it and everything. But I will say that there have been times in the past where I feel like I don't get asked about what I do, like at all, from anyone really. And I would be sad about it. I'd be like, why don't they want to ask me? Because I feel like sometimes when we're in this like bubble of the design world and the social media world, it's like I love it so much because I've connected with so many supportive and amazing people. And then when you don't get the same questions from like your family or the people that you're like closest to, it can be really difficult. Like, it's really hard because it's like, why don't they want to just ask me? Or sometimes that's all I want to talk about is the clients I'm working with or like the awesome people I get to meet. But I will say that if you feel you're not getting the respect from what it is you're doing, F them. I say F it, just go for it. Like, they might not understand, but one day, like maybe even in a year from now or 2 years from now, maybe even a month from now, you might have the most awesome thing happen to you. Like, you might get an awesome client that's willing to pay you $10,000+ speaking from experience, and you're just not even going to care what anyone thinks because the success is showing, all the things that you're doing is showing in your business and financially, that it's not even going to matter what anyone's thinking. So I would suggest just ignoring the haters, ignoring the people that aren't taking you seriously. Do your best to just like shut them off and live in this world and appreciate this world of people that are going to support you, and just know that one day you're going to shut them all up from thinking it was a joke. So that would be my suggestion. I feel like I answer questions like really long. I'm so sorry, you guys. But next question is, if you were able to apply for a regular job today, what would you ask for as your salary? Ooh, that's a good question. I've thought about like if I wasn't a designer, what I would want to do. And I would love to be a women's health doctor. I'm like fascinated with women's hormones, and like I've done a lot of research myself. I feel like that's probably not the question. If that was what I would probably be doing if I wasn't a designer. But if I was going into the design world, in like the corporate design world, I would ask for I would say I'm making like 6 figures now. So I wouldn't want to go lower than that. So I would say I would take whatever it is I'm making now and times that by like 2. That might be a little dramatic. I would probably take what I'm taking now and request that, but a little bit higher, and then kind of negotiate from there. So I would say nothing less than like $90,000+. It all depends on the opportunity too, though. Like if it's a really, really good company, like if it was, I don't know, I feel like one of the companies I'd love to work for is Patagonia or like Nike or, you know, companies like that. Then I would say I would negotiate a little bit more, but I would start high and I would probably request that. Okay, next question is, what level/title do you deserve? I'm figuring out how to level up my career and pay and want some perspective. That's a really good question. I haven't really thought too much about like my title. But I would say that Leo, I would say for myself that I am technically a CEO plus designer. I would say that I am, business owner, CEO, lead designer. That's typically what I would probably give myself as a title. I think that's on my email signature is owner and designer. And then also level is tricky because there's always going to be someone better than me, but there's always going to be someone that's just starting out. So honestly, this all comes from confidence. Confidently, I would say that I am an advanced designer. I know how to use all the programs. So that's probably what I would say. This question is, what kind of positions do you outsource and how do you find the right people? I outsource right now my social media, which I've talked about how I just brought on my social media manager and she does all of my posting on Instagram, which has been so helpful. I still manage my YouTube, TikTok, all the other profiles, but taking one off my plate has been a huge help. And I found her from word of mouth. I talked to people that knew her, and she also reached out to me. We met in person. Like, I've known her for a while now, and that's how I met her, was just from connections. And I also outsource development for my websites. If there's like a more complicated website, I do give that to my developer. And I found him from Upwork, actually. And I went through lots of developers, but he was the most communicative. He was super quick, and he's amazing. Like, I love working with him. He actually lives in India, but he's amazing. So yeah, I found him from Upwork. But and then I also outsource copywriting, and I found her from also connections, and I read her testimonials, and I used her for my own website, and she's amazing. So I use her, found her on Instagram and connections. Next question is, I want to be a graphic designer, but I failed in Fiverr and Upwork. Any advice? Oh, we have lots of questions on Fiverr and Upwork today. I think Fiverr and Upwork, like I said, has gotten like a bad rap over the last few years because a lot of the clients I've spoken to have complained about not getting quality work from it, and it is really low cost a lot of times, which I don't really like because that's really diminishing the value of what we offer. So I would suggest putting all of your energy and all your focus into social media content, your website portfolio, and networking and building connections. Like, I would put way more of my effort into doing that than I would on these platforms that are instant like competition. So that's what I would suggest. I know it's really defeating when you like apply and you make your profile really nice, but I think it's so competitive nowadays, and it just doesn't have the best reputation for like quality branding and website design anymore. And it's so hard because as you scroll, you see like direct competition, and people are just looking at like the numbers usually. So I would suggest putting your energy into other places. Next question is, starting from scratch, how do I get clients that aren't people I know who just want $100 logo? If they're asking for $100 logo, they clearly haven't looked at like the average cost of logo designs. I don't think there's anything wrong with starting out designing for people you know, and designing for people that maybe are at least offering a little bit lower cost packages just to build your portfolio. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, honestly. Just starting out though, once you start to build your experience and you're offering like something so amazing and good that's worth a lot of money, then I would increase it and not budge when it comes to people you know. If there are friends or family or people who are trying to have you do something without respecting the value of it, then that just shows a lot about who they are. And maybe they just don't know like what it's like to run a business. So I never blame them for that. I have a lot of empathy for people who don't understand like what it's like. I understand, I'm able to see all perspectives, but I would suggest just letting them know that you're booked up. If they're gonna ask for $100 logo, just say like, I'm sorry, I'm busy, I'm booked up, I can't do that. I actually had someone ask me recently for like a $500 website, and I was like, I kind of was left speechless because I was like, do you not look at like my website, or like you not know how much these cost nowadays? So I would just be confident in the value of what you're providing and let them know that you cannot take them on. Like, stick to your word, and yeah, that's what I would suggest. I know that's hard though, because family and friends can sometimes ask for that, and it's hard to say no, but practice saying no because you're worth a lot and they need to know that. Okay, next question is, if you had to start all over, how would you do it now? I've thought about this a lot because as I'm transitioning into more educational content, it's important for me to like look back and know what it is I did to help me grow. And I'm still growing. I never want to come off like I've reached it, like I'm here, I'm still growing, I'm still learning. But when I look back, I'm really proud of the things and the decisions I made to help me get here. So if I had to start all over, knowing what we have today, I would suggest figuring out your specific style. I would sit down with myself and study designers I like and figure out how I can show up a little differently. I would practice and practice and practice by doing like those project briefs that are free and fake, I guess. I would practice that way, but I would also practice with like real clients and offer them a lower cost package for me to kind of get my foot in the door. And then I would go above and beyond with those clients that are willing to work with you and let you practice. That way referrals can start to like trickle through. So that's what I would do. And then I would also go nuts with content. Like I would be filming every little thing of my day. I know that sounds dramatic, but I would be filming my day in the life, how I design logos, how I design brands, design trends. I would show everything and anything. And even if you're not doing educational content, just people watching how you design is really entertaining. So I would go crazy with my content. And I would stick with it. I wouldn't be discouraged not getting views because I enjoy what I'm doing. It doesn't feel like a job to me. So I would just continue doing it every single day. And then I would also probably cold call or cold DM people, which is just like reaching out to them, starting the conversation and letting them know what you offer. And yeah, that's probably what I would do. I would start offering some freebies probably to kind of get some emails through the door so I can start like marketing directly. Yeah, that's probably what I would do. That's the gist of what I would do. All right, you guys, those are all the questions that I got. Those were really, really good questions. And I really enjoyed like talking to you all and seeing where you're at with everything. But like I said, if you didn't get a chance to ask the question on Instagram, definitely go leave the question down below on my YouTube video. But yeah, I really hope that this was interesting to you. I hope that answered some of your questions that you had. But I really enjoyed this and I'm also enjoying this glass of wine because it's been a minute and it's pretty good. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this podcast episode, please let me know by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing or following this podcast. Like I mentioned, every other Friday I'll be posting a new one. So I have some really exciting guests coming too that I'm super excited to talk to. And be sure to follow me on Instagram so that you don't miss any of those question boxes or polls or anything like that, because I will be asking a lot of things on there for the podcast. But thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you in my next video.